And in today's video, we are going to be talking about how the leader of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, claims that nobody is starving in Gaza. We are also going to take a dive into how there actually are people starving in Gaza, why he doesn't want you to think that there are people starving in Gaza, because that would cause big problems for him. And then we're going to talk about some plans that he has that literally I think we all could have predicted, and I've predicted on past podcasts, and now he's actually saying it, things that are coming to fruition that I've predicted before. However, we may have some momentum to stop what it was that he was trying to do. And then, of course, it wouldn't be complete without our congressman, our Speaker of House, Mike Johnson, making an absolute fool of himself. So all of that today. And actually, there is one more thing that I'm going to add in here today, and I should pull up this, but Trump actually did something that I want to applaud him for. So I will save that until the last end of this podcast, because it's not often that we have him doing stuff that I think is good. So without further delay, and I think we do need to applaud people when they do right, because we get trapped, I believe, in this mindset of putting people in certain baskets of being completely evil, being completely good. And I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. So whenever people are doing things that are right, I think it is important that we show a little bit of humanity and pat them on the back whenever they do. So we will end the podcast by discussing what it is that Trump did that I feel is great, and honestly something that I would do once I'm president. So, and we'll see if we need to alter it at all. But first, let's jump into Bibi Netanyahu, our favorite conversation of Israel and Palestine. So we have here that Bibi Netanyahu has decided to come out and tell us that nobody is starving in Gaza. The AP reports, and this is the title to their article, Israel's leader claims no one in Gaza is starving. Data and witnesses disagree, amongst so many videos that are out there. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says no one in Gaza is starving. Quote, there is no policy of starvation in Gaza, and there is no starvation in Gaza. We enable humanitarian aid throughout the duration of the war to enter Gaza. Otherwise, there would be no Gazans, end quote. President Donald Trump on Monday said he disagrees with Bibi Netanyahu's claim of no starvation in Gaza, noting the images emerging of emancipated people. Quote, those children look very hungry, end quote. After international pressure, Israel over the weekend announced humanitarian pauses, airdrops, and other measures meant to allow more aid to Palestine in Gaza. But people say little or nothing has changed on the ground. The UN has described it as a 1-week scale-up of aid, and Israel has not said how long these measures would last. Now, first of all, kudos to Trump, at least half kudos to Trump, for sort of saying, that there is starvation there. That's not the thing we're going to talk about at the end. But this is actually a very important propaganda tactic that Bibi needs to pull off, which is to convince people that there is no starvation happening, because that would just add to the war crimes that this man has committed and has admitted to committing in the past, and many humanitarian issues that have arisen from him whenever he was in Congress and in the, not Congress, but in their a parliament. I believe they have a parliament. We need to fact check that. But all of his time in political office, he has been around very questionable and very illegal things. So this is very important that he creates this narrative that there is no starvation, because starvation is a war crime of civilians. Because if you're sieging, if you're occupying, if you're blocking their ability to get aid in other places, you're responsible for taking care of the civilian population. The other issue I have with this is that it says it's a war, and it is not a war anymore. It is a complete slaughter of innocent people, because there is no firepower for Hamas whatsoever at all. And I think what is starting to come out, and something, well, we'll get into that in a second, but what's really, if we put on our hats of looking at this from an America first, a truly America first, thinking about how we have to take care of our own people before we take care of the world, the one thing that really sticks out of how disgusting this is is now we're in a position, and politicians have called for it, and we've sent money through USAID, where we send money and we send food to take care of these people in Gaza. And the problem is that we have sent so much money to this region to cause the devastation. $3.8 billion a year goes to Israel in order to kill innocent people. And now we have to send food on their behalf to take care of the starving people that they created through their blockades. So all of this, again, highlighted by the fact that in America, we have 47 million people with food insecurity, which means we have 47 million people in America who have no idea where their next meal is going to come from. We have 47 million people in America who are afraid, who are stressed about where they're going to get food, where they're going to get their next meal, where they're going to get their next nutrients. And yet now we have created a humanitarian crisis in a foreign country, in Gaza, in Palestine, and we now feel morally obligated to take care of it. Oh, well, we messed up. Let's throw more money at it. This is a complete mess. It's completely in shambles. We've sent so much money to Israel to buy weapons, to destroy people, to kill people. And now we have to send more money in terms of food in order to try and attempt to feed these starving people. And what's even more disgusting, if you haven't been disgusted enough, you can find videos of these Gazans. You can find videos of Gazans trying to get food at these places, and IDF, Israeli soldiers, shooting at the ground by their feet to like scare them, to try to convince them that there's this herd of cattle that needs to wait their turn and be patient while they are becoming emancipated when they're becoming malnutritioned, malnutritious. While they are becoming stripped of all nutrition in their body. And I apologize for laughing there. It's just get a little worked up sometimes, and so I need to try to weave out my thoughts. But it's disgusting. It's disgusting. We send all this money to foreign countries to innocent people, and now we have to send more money to fix the humanitarian crisis that they created. And meanwhile, our people are starving. I don't know how many people are going to starve. And if you have 47 million people with food insecurity, what percentage of them are looking for their last meal before things become dire, before they may keel over? I don't know the answer to that question. I'm just proposing it. And then Bibi Netanyahu has the gall to come out and say that he is ready now, and he is going to present a plan to annex parts of Gaza. This was it the whole time. This was the plan the whole entire time, to completely take over the Palestinian land. They've been annexing parts of the West Bank that nobody's been talking about, and now he comes up with this plan to annex parts of Gaza. I'm reading here from Middle East Eye. Is the newspaper. It says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that Israel will move to annex parts of Gaza Strip if a ceasefire agreement with Hamas is not reached, according to Israeli media. Which again makes my blood boil, because there has been no fighting going the opposite direction. I don't know of any Hamas insurgents that are carrying out any sort of attacks anymore. And I don't know, maybe they still are. Maybe that's my ignorance. But for us to be calling this a war is crazy to me. And not to mention, we have talked about in previous podcasts about how they keep saying that Hamas needs to have a ceasefire, how it's Hamas's fault, how they won't do these certain things that they want. And every single way, it seems to me that Israel is the one who is not looking to make an agreement, not looking to create a ceasefire. And I do believe that Donald Trump is a part of that. He enables it. He allows it to happen. He allows them to get away with it. We've talked about how they set these dates. You have 60 days to comply. Otherwise, you don't want the ceasefire. It's your fault. Now, this article goes on to say the remarks about annexing Gaza Strip, the remarks were made during a war cabinet meeting on Monday, which included Finance Minister Basil Smotrich and National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. According to the Israeli news outlet Walla, Netanyahu presented a new strategic political plan that marks a shift from Israel's previous approach during more than 20 months of war in Gaza. Netanyahu said to have told the cabinet that, quote, Israel does not intend to wait indefinitely, end quote, for Hamas to respond to a proposed temporary ceasefire brokered by U.S. Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. If no agreement is reached soon, Israel will reportedly begin annexing territory within the Gaza Strip. And this, we come back to the plan all the time. We heard it with Trump, because Trump even said when he was sitting in the Oval Office, there's nothing in Gaza. There's nothing to buy. There's nothing to take. It's a wasteland. We're going to take it and develop it. And so now we see the entire plan coming to fruition. And you know it's even more disgusting. If this hasn't made your blood boil enough yet, allow me to present you. Let me find it. The video. I know you're here somewhere. Now it's in Hebrew, but there have been, what are they called? Israeli soldiers. I'm trying to think of what the term is whenever whistleblowers. There have been whistleblowers who are Israeli soldiers who have testified that they were ordered to cancel all patrols along the Gaza border between 5:20 a.m. and 9 a.m. on October 7th, 2023, just before the Hamas operation began that resulted in the killing and deaths of nearly 2,000 innocent people. And to me, this is the smoking, or what is it? Smoking gun. This is the smoking gun. Israeli soldiers coming out and saying that they were told to stand down for 4 hours when this event took place, when this butchery took place. And this doesn't make it right by Hamas that they killed this many people. It's completely wrong. And they should have been sanctioned against it. But then the response to it is to kill 60,000 people, and at least that's the number we have counted. It's probably more because you don't count the people who are in the rubble or have died of famine. To kill 60,000 people, to completely level Gaza, and now to annex Gaza, to take it over. You have to realize that the people in these positions of power are not dumb. You have to realize that they think multiple moves ahead. They are chess masters. And you have to acknowledge, you have to realize that. You have to realize that they think multiple moves ahead. So for Israeli soldiers to come out and testify that they were ordered to stand down, it's the smoking gun. Because you have to realize that Israel, in conjunction with the CIA, are the most powerful intelligence operations, the most powerful investigatory services. They are the best at surveillance in the entire world. For them to not know Hamas, who we're supposed to believe is very unequipped, was going to perform this attack. I mean, it says it all. I've speculated before, but with Israeli soldiers coming out, I think that's the smoking gun. I feel as though this validates it all. And they did it all so that they could take over more land in Gaza and the West Bank. It's disgusting. And if they stick to their Greater Israel project, they're not going to stop there once they annex those regions. They're going to go for more regions. They'll go for some of Egypt. They'll go for Syria if they can. They'll go for Libya. They'll go for Iran. Maybe Qatar. I don't know. Who knows how far they're going to stop? When is enough enough? They just keep moving the goalpost. And these testimonies, you can look it up. You search Israeli soldiers testify they were ordered to cancel all patrols along the Gaza border between 5:20 a.m. and 9 a.m. on October 7th, 2023. Why would you give that order? You're the best surveillance state in the world, and you give that order? You didn't know that they were planning something? I think it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And it's just proving everything. But there is some good news. And I do want to make sure we have some good news here. Because the good news is that powerful countries, nuclear armed countries, are starting to wake up. The UK, Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, says that they will recognize Palestinian state unless Israel agrees to the ceasefire and ends the suffering in Gaza. And we have that Canada will recognize Palestinian state in September in their latest push as well against Israel's Gaza policies to prevent them from committing and continuing this ethnic cleansing. And on top of this, we have Portugal saying it will consider recognizing Palestinian state in September. Incredible stuff. We also have that Germany is holding off on the recognition, but warns it will act against, quote, unilateral steps, end quote, by Israel. Sweden also urged the EU to freeze a trade pact with Israel over the appalling Gaza conditions. This is great. Honestly, we are now getting international pressure on Israel to stop this, to end this butchery, to end this ethnic cleansing. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. It's beautiful that these countries are doing it. And you need to sit here and you need to wonder why this is actually so good. Because it feels good, right? But why? Why is it important that these countries, we have Canada, we have France, we have UK, we have Portugal, why are they all coming together and saying enough is enough? Well, I mean, obviously, why is that it is enough. They see the images, they realize the evil that is being perpetuated over there in the name of Jews, which I feel so bad for the Jews that are against this war, because it is absolutely disgusting what Israel has done by weaponizing the name, the culture, the ethnicity of Jewish people. It's disgusting what they have done. And so the reason that this is so great, first and foremost, is it shows a diplomatic shift and it creates pressure on Israel. By these countries, these major Western powers, first of all, you have France, UK, and Canada who are G7 members. And then you also have that UK and France are permanent members of the UN Security Council. So that creates even a lot more power. That their recognition of this is going to signal, and has already signaled, I think, in at least a small way, but in September it will be even greater unless Israel cuts it out. But the recognition of this will signal that there's a growing Western consensus towards acknowledging Palestinian statehood to make it more official, if you will, thus increasing the diplomatic isolation that exists or will exist for Israel, making them even more cut off from trade, maybe from partnerships with the evils of this that's going on. And of course, Israel opposes this move. They don't want it to be recognized as a state. They don't want to give it legitimacy as a country. Because if they do that, there will be more sanctions. There will be more pressure in other routes. So, but this pressure could actually engage the negotiations in a two-state solution, which in my opinion would be ideal. And that was the policy of the United States for almost 70 years, was to find a two-state solution, which Trump has it seems to me Trump has overturned and basically just, in a way, not said anything, but allowed it to silently happen, where he basically supports Israel completely destroying this place. And now he wants to make it a business project for him and create Trump Gaza, which I feel is a slap in the face to all the people over there. But this is great. It's also great for legal implications and symbolic reasons. Because recognition of this, it will enhance Palestine's international legitimacy. It will affirm that the Palestinians have right to self-determination, to determining their own state. This will also elevate Palestine's status on in global forums. Because if you don't have a state, you can't get into certain forums, of course. So thus it will allow them to join diplomatic relations. it will in ways prevent Israel from sieging them, from occupying them, from being able to determine who can go in and out of the West Bank or of Gaza. Also, it can strengthen Palestine's ability to join international treaties. They can pursue international legal actions. And essentially what the ICC, the International Criminal Court, has been issuing because without them having these defined borders or having a full membership, a UN membership, and this is because the US always vetoes it, the practical statehood remains kind of limited. So all in all, this actually creates a lot of momentum towards this two-state solution, which would be ideal for everybody. It would allow Palestinians to get their act together, if you will, because they did elect Hamas, but they did it as a consequence of the Israel's pressure, military pressure on them. Because if you're going to have someone who keeps going in, firing, killing, eventually you're going to have a militant uprising to defend themselves. That's who you're going to elect as your leader, somebody who's going to do the dirty work to protect you. And it's a sad truth, but we need to fix it. They need to fix it. And I bet you that they would fix it if they stopped feeling as though they were trapped in a corner. So all of this would create momentum for a two-state solution. So this would have a lot of different ripple effects and whatnot. I think one of the biggest things, though, would be the humanitarian context around this, because these announcements are responding to the Gaza crisis. These reports of starvation, over 60,000 reported deaths, they are fueling global outrage, and they should continue to fuel global outrage. Because this recognition is framed as a step to address the Palestinian suffering and preserve the possibility of any viable state or any ability for them to retain their own culture. Though some critics note it may not immediately alleviate the conditions on the ground, and it definitely wouldn't. But we have to start moving in that direction. We have to start a movement to get them free, to get them into a place where they can take care of themselves. They can take care of everything. So I'm optimistic about that. Something I'm not optimistic about, and just it's such a bad look. It's seriously such a bad look, is that we had Speaker Mike Johnson praying at the Western Wall. This was a few days ago, or maybe it was today. But he prayed there, and he's saying that basically he hopes that America and Israel will always be allies, because Scripture tells us that we must support Israel, because then we'll be blessed. But this isn't true. Nowhere in Scripture talks about this. I've made countless, well, not countless, I've probably made 2 or 3 reels about it, but there is no Scripture that tells Christians to unilaterally support the state of Israel. It doesn't exist. It's a complete lie. And they say it over and over again to convince you that they're doing something spiritually great. It's a complete lie. The only thing that's even close to it is that the Scofield Bible, interpreted, who was written by a Zionist, says that you should bless Israel and you'll be blessed. It was the way he interpreted it. He put it as like a footnote at the bottom of the page. Meanwhile, you have Mike Johnson, who took in over $750,000 from Israel. And it's just absolutely disgusting that he's there. He's wearing a yarmulke. And all of this just 1 week, ready for this? Because we took a deep dive into the Epstein files. 1 week after blocking the release of Epstein files. You know, Palestine's occupied on the ground by Israel, And America is occupied by Israel and our government. It's disgusting. Because what you have to realize is that if you take money from somebody, they expect a return on that money. Nobody's going to give you anything and not get value out of it. So if someone donates to your political campaign or donates anything to you, they expect you to give them $2 to $3 at least, bare minimum, of a return. So if they give Mike Johnson $750,000, they're expecting at least $1.5 million to come back in some way, shape, or form. And now we have him here, standing in front of the Wailing Wall, looking like a... like a simp. I think a simp is probably the most politically correct term that I can use to describe the way this man looks right now. No backbone, completely weak. You can see it in his body language. It's sad. It's really sad. And I'm trying to hold myself back from saying anything that's too disgusting about him, but to see this is very appalling. To see that his primary objective, block the Epstein files, let's not know who the pedophiles are, don't worry about the mass starvation. We're going to unilaterally back Israel's decision no matter what they decide to do. Kill innocent kids, we'll back it. The Bible told me that that's okay. We'll bless it. Yeah, you're blessed. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're going to starve people to death, which is even worse than probably taking a bullet to the head. Oh, yeah, we'll bless you. We'll go along with it. Sure. Is there anything you want me to pass? Oh, you want me to pass certain, you want me to block the Epstein files? Oh, yes, Daddy. Okay. Disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting that we have elected officials acting like this. You have to give Israel credit, guys. You have to give them credit. They're not dumb. They've hijacked the American system. This is how good their intelligence is. They hijacked the American system. They figured out that all the powerful people in the world are pedophiles and they like little kids. So they blackmailed them and they'll say, hey, we'll still just give you money to get elected. And, I say all of that. And I do want to say that we still need to keep our mind straight and not convict people in a court of public opinion. I do believe that at some level we need to see the documents. They need to go through their fair day in court. We should see the documents. We should see the files before jumping to conclusions. And I hope we do. I hope we do because, we have also Trump who's been talking about potentially pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. Just there's no words. There's no words at this point for it all. And I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It really is. And I get it. But I do want to get to the thing that I do want to congratulate Trump on. So maybe we can end on a high note here. Trump signed an executive order that I am all for. He signed an executive order that we will now have presidential fitness tests return to schools. In an article written by ABC News, they said, kids in America's public schools will soon be lacing up their sneakers for the presidential fitness test after President Donald Trump announced its return more than a decade after it was discontinued. Trump signed an executive order on Thursday that will expand the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition and bring back the presidential fitness test in public schools. Quote, I'm pleased to announce that we're officially restoring the presidential fitness test and the presidential fitness award, and it's going to be a very big thing, Trump said at the order signing Thursday afternoon, adding that the test, quote, was a wonderful tradition and we're bringing it back, end quote. I completely agree with that. I think this is a great move. So Trump, shout out to you. Pat yourself on the back because I think this is very important that we need to be a healthy society. In order for us to think straight, in order for us to get our lives together, we have to be healthy individuals. Physically, mentally, nutritionally. We need to take care of our bodies if we want our minds and our spirits to thrive. It's the only way. The fitness test, which began under former President Dwight D. Eisenhower, in 1956 will return after it was discontinued in 2012 during former President Barack Obama's presidency. Obama replaced it with the Presidential Youth Fitness Program, a comprehensive school-based program that promoted living an active and healthy lifestyle. While there have been different versions of the presidential fitness test, the one most are familiar with includes a 1-minute mile, pull-ups or push-ups, sit-ups, shuttle run, and sit and reach, according to Harvard Health. It's not yet clear that it will be included in the Trump administration's presidential fitness test, though. Quote, President Trump wants to ensure America's future generations are strong, healthy, and successful. President Trump wants every young American to have the opportunity to emphasize a healthy, active lifestyle, creating a culture of strength and excellence for years to come, end quote. Said that was by Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. And I completely agree with all of that. Now, again, I think there's serious questions about what goes into this. I mean, I did those whenever I was in high school, and they're good, but I think it's, we need more curriculum within the school system that leads up to that. So how we do that, I think, is like a whole another broader question, another broader situation. But I do believe that we cannot take our eye off the ball of Israel and Gaza, because it's very evident to me now what they are attempting to do, or what they're trying to do, and what they've been what they have been doing. The good news is that we have the countries of France, Canada, UK, Portugal, all finally taking a stand. Of course, we need to get new leaders in Congress now. Mike Johnson basically confirms that. Otherwise, we're going to keep protecting pedophiles until we no longer talk about it. So I think we need to keep the pressure up on them to release the Epstein files. And lastly, we need people to join the American Congress Party, because it's not going to be done. It is not going to be accomplished by any of these people, the Republicans, the Democrats. It's not going to happen. Who's the next person up? Everyone's talking about how great J.D. Vance is. He's completely bought and paid for by Peter Thiel, who doesn't even know if humanity should advance or if humanity should continue. I don't know if you saw this, but Peter Thiel was asked in a podcast if he believes that the American race should endure. And he sat there for like 30 seconds thinking about it, and even got pressed on it. And he's like, well, there's a lot of stuff kind of in that question, like if we should or shouldn't. And this is who is funding J.D. Vance, who funded his rise, who gave him job opportunities, who found him in law school and basically created him. That's his master. That's his puppet master, is Peter Thiel, who is the owner of Palantir, which is essentially a CIA organization to steal all of our data, to predict our abilities, to predict what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, so that we can lose all sovereignty over our lives. So I think that J.D. Vance is a big red flag. I think that he is completely bought and paid for by Peter Thiel. He was created by Peter Thiel. And it's going to be very ugly if that guy gets into presidency. Like, I honestly, so many people talk about how Trump's losing it and he should be impeached and all this stuff. And look, my hesitation is I think J.D. Vance would be worse than Trump. I truly do. I think it would be a really bad look for America. I think it would be really bad for the technocrats who basically are running America at this point. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that, but that's for a whole nother podcast. That's a big deep dive that I don't know if you guys are ready for. I know I've thrown a lot at you in this transmission, and so with all that being said, I appreciate you guys, and I will see you all in the 6th dimension.